Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to another Jets Media live stream. And today I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers because what else would we be talking about? It's not like anybody significant just hung up the cleats for the second straight year, right? Crickets. I hear crickets. Yes. Okay, Tom Brady. Goodbye. Enjoy your retirement. It was nice knowing you. Sayonara from Jets Nation. Thank you for all you did for the sport, but goodbye. All right, well, all jokes aside, man, congrats to Tom Brady on a great career, and it's always emotional to see a great like him hang up the cleats, especially one that really tormented my childhood. But we're not going to get too deep into that because today we're focusing on Aaron Rodgers. We're going to have Jack join the show in just a couple of minutes, and I want to highlight what Aaron Rodgers had to say on the Pat Mcafee Show just yesterday. Pat McAfee he is a weekly guest on the Pat McAfee Show, which is really awesome. If you guys did not check it out for yourself, we're going to be playing a clip from the Pat McAfee Show here on the stream. And I think he had really interesting things to say about Nathaniel Hackett. And the thing I want to focus on is, I don't think what Aaron Rodgers has to say about Nathaniel Hackett has anything to do with Aaron Rodgers coming to the Jets or not. My point is, if Aaron Rodgers comes to the Jets or not, I think Jets fans still needs to hear Aaron Rodgers' perspective of Nathaniel Hackett since he is our new offensive coordinator, regardless if Aaron Rodgers comes to the Jets or not. So I definitely want you guys to hear what Aaron Rodgers had to say about Nathaniel Hackett via the Pat McAfee Show. Now let's get into my guy Jack, who is joining the show. What up, buddy? How you doing, my friend?
What is going on? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. We're doing well. Today we're talking about Aaron Rodgers. He was on the Pat McAfee Show just yesterday, and we're going to be breaking it down, really what he had to say about our new offensive coordinator. Is it going to make it seem like he's coming to the Jets, or let's just go into the perspective of he's talking about our new OC. We don't know a lot about him just yet, other than the fact that he failed miserably as a head coach for the Denver Broncos, and he was great in Green Bay as the offensive coordinator. So that's going to be today's topic, baby. Let's go.
I love it. Yeah, it's an exciting time. New offensive coordinator. We're on that quarterback search. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is the hot topic right now, and the story changes every day. Is Aaron going to come here? Is Aaron not going to come here? Is he going to leave Green Bay at all?
Who
who
retire?
knows? Yeah, who knows what the final outcome is going to be? But
he hasn't ruled out retiring, by the way, because he gets asked that every week on Pat McAfee Show, and he says, nope, I haven't made a decision. So we don't even know if he's even playing football. But my guess is he's going to play because there's $110 million waiting for him. And if he retires and doesn't want that money, I don't know. That's why I don't think he's going to retire. So let's hear it from Aaron Rodgers via the Pat McAfee Show, and we'll talk about what he had to say about Nathaniel Hackett. Tune in.
Hackett is being viewed in very high regards by everybody, which is why he got the New York Jets offensive coordinator job so quickly. Hypothetical. Hey.
Okay.
Hypotheticals. All right. Nathaniel Hackett getting a gig somewhere, or somebody that you know getting a gig somewhere, does that sway you in any thoughts if the Packers were to say, we'd like to move on and you'd like to play football? Obviously, this is a lot of what ifs, but have you put yourself into that mind frame, and can you even answer that question at this point?
No, I can't. I mean, there's not a great answer I can give you. We all have certain coaches that have meant a lot to us over the years, and have created those really special rooms to play in, special feelings on game day, made the weeks better. Obviously, Nathaniel's one of those guys. I would say there's been a handful of coaches over the years who've been just on another different level. Guys who you just kind of bonded with more than other guys. And it's not a shot at any other coach you've played with. It's just
humans,
just like with teammates. Some guys you love, and some guys you love and you spend more time with them off the field. Hack, same way. Love Hack. I mean, Hack's my guy. I love him, and Megan and the kids are really special to me. Like, we really bonded when he was in Green Bay. He made it fun. He made the room fun, made the weeks fun. So that those guys are always going to be really special, and that's just a handful of people that have meant to me. But those guys have been in my room consistently, and guys you love being around. I mean, listen, I'm not sure what the future holds for me, but those are friendships, the ones I mentioned, that are going to last longer than football, and I'm really thankful for that part of the sport and what the sport gives you in that regard.
So that's Aaron Rodgers speaking on Nathaniel Hackett. He said he is special to him. He's a great friend of his. He made things fun, which I think stood out to me. He made the weeks fun. And, we all know the relationship between Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett is interesting because there's rumors that Aaron Rodgers got along with Nathaniel Hackett more than the head coach, Matt LaFleur. And we know that Matt LaFleur is the play caller for Green Bay. Nathaniel Hackett was not. So my first thought of that is I think Nathaniel Hackett is a player's coach. I think he relates to his players very well, which is a good thing for the Jets. And, hearing Aaron Rodgers speak this glowingly of Nathaniel Hackett, it does make me feel a little different of him as an offensive coordinator, regardless if we get Aaron Rodgers or not. So, Jack, what was your overall impressions of what Aaron Rodgers had to say about our new offensive coordinator, Hackett?
Yeah, clearly Nathaniel Hackett's a guy that's had a big impact on Aaron Rodgers as a player. That's obviously very nice to hear. It's nice to hear him backing up Nathaniel Hackett after, obviously having an extremely poor year with the Denver Broncos, and that being the immense letdown that it was. But obviously, we see it all the time. We see it, I think, again with Todd Bowles, just as an example. Guys that are just better suited to be a coordinator than they are to be a head coach. And maybe Nathaniel Hackett is one of those guys because clearly, regardless of his lack of success as a head coach in Denver, clearly Nathaniel Hackett is a difference maker when it comes to just focusing on an offense. And clearly, Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest we've ever seen play the quarterback position ever. Giving such high praise to a guy like Hackett, that definitely means something. Obviously, Nathaniel Hackett has to go out there and prove himself just like everybody else does, just like all the players do, as well as the staff. But, it's definitely never a bad thing to hear one of the greats, send a lot of praise his way. And Rodgers definitely dodged the Jets kind of question.
Oh, he's so good at dodging questions, dude. If you watch the Pat McAfee Show when Aaron Rodgers is on there, like the full segment, like 15, 20 minutes that he's on the show, he is so good at dodging the questions because they ask him the questions that everybody wants to know the answers to, and he gives like 5-minute responses without even giving him an answer to what they really want him to say. He's really good at that. So that is exactly what you're talking about, Jack. JR Jet says, I'm not sure if Rodgers really said anything revealing about what he intends to do. Guess I don't speak tea leaf. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't think,
Yeah,
I think
agree.
it was mainly just hyping up Nathaniel Hackett, but he definitely dodged the, does that sway you in your decision to potentially go somewhere? He didn't touch on that.
Yeah, like that. And that's the reason why I wanted to show this clip. It's not really me saying like, guys, Aaron Rodgers is praising Nathaniel Hackett. That means he's definitely coming to the Jets. That's not really the point of this stream right now. I really wanted to just give us as a Jets fan base inside information about a relationship that Nathaniel Hackett had with this quarterback who, by the way, won back-to-back MVPs when Hackett was around him. I think that's important, regardless if we get Aaron Rodgers or not. Obviously, we all want Aaron Rodgers very badly, but I also want to make sure that us as a Jets fan base prepare ourselves because it's not likely that we get Aaron Rodgers. I know that we've seen literal thousands of Aaron Rodgers in Jets uniform edits. I know that we are the favorites to get him, but I think there's a lot that has to happen our way. And more importantly, Aaron Rodgers needs to want to play again because he's contemplating retiring. And would he want to come to the Jets? That's another big question, Obviously, Nathaniel Hackett is someone that he has a relationship with, so him going to the Jets increases our odds. You look at all the other factors around Aaron Rodgers, you would think that there's a good situation around him, but does Aaron Rodgers want to have a completely change of scenery? At this age of his career, does he want to go through a transition where he needs to absolutely change everything? Because it seems like the Green Bay Packers, Jack, according to all the reports recently, they're willing to move off of Aaron Rodgers. They're ready for Jordan Love. They are ready to go all in for Jordan Love. And also with the contract that the Packers gave Aaron Rodgers last year, if they want to trade him and get any assets back, now's the time to trade him. You don't wait till next year because you're not going to get as much trade assets back. So this is the offseason for the Packers' perspective to trade Aaron Rodgers. But the thing is, that's a little tricky in this whole situation. The Packers cannot trade Aaron Rodgers until Aaron Rodgers tells the Packers where he stands. Does he want to keep playing football? Does he want to stay Packer? Is he willing to be traded? Right? There's a lot of things to really figure out regarding this whole Aaron Rodgers situation. Let's get into the chat real quick, and we're going to continue the conversation. John says he made it sound like after the Super Bowl, he will state his intentions. I hope the deal is wrapped up by then. Yeah, he did say that, like, he doesn't like how his name is being talked a lot right now. Like, he said that the focus should be on the Eagles and the Chiefs because that's the Super Bowl, which is why he's not really thinking about this right now. And he's going to allow, because we're technically still in the season right now. It feels like the offseason for us for the past month, it feels like, right? But reality, we're not in the offseason yet. So that's Aaron Rodgers' point. He doesn't want to, cloud everything by announcing his retirement or, wanting to be traded. He wants to let the whole season play out. And then he's going to let the whole world know, rather, where he stands. So that's something to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Aaron Rodgers has a huge career decision coming up in front of him. It's not something he's going to take lightly at all. He's gonna put a lot of time and thought into what his next move in life is going to be, and in the NFL is going to be, or maybe not in the NFL. Who knows? But come on, Aaron.
Hennessy believes.
Let's
Keep getting it. Rodgers, believe it. Let's go, Hennessy. Let's go.
Love it. I love that energy.
I do want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's live stream, which is indeed PrizePicks. If you guys want to download PrizePicks, you can use promo code JetsMedia down below in the description to sign up today. We got the Super Bowl coming up, and you know that there's gonna be a lot of fun parlays that you can create over on PrizePicks for the Super Bowl. Of course, they always have NBA. They have other sports as well. If you want to click the link down below in the description to download PrizePicks today, use my promo code JetsMedia to get 100% deposit matched up to $100. You deposit $10, you get $10 free. You deposit $50, you get $50 free. Stay tuned for more updates on PrizePicks. They got a lot of fun promos coming your way. And again, big time shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's live stream. We greatly, greatly appreciate that. Now, let's get back into the chat. If you guys can do me a solid, hit that thumbs up button, guys, on your way into the show. It really helps out the channel a ton. Let's freaking go.
A lot of people all in on Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like everyone is on the Rodgers train, right? Sean says
it looks
Aaron
that
ain't
way.
retiring. Y'all can drop that talk now. Yeah, Sean, I agree. The reason why he's not retiring in my eyes is what I said earlier. There's $110 million for him to make, right? Why would he hang it up? Dave, love you too, man. Thank you.
Love you too, Dave.
Like button has been clicked. Well, Dave, thank you.
Dave.
There is the AFC's roundtable tonight. The AFC's roundtable will be going crazy tonight, of course. Richie, and the issue with Brock Purdy shakes up the QB lineup. Now, if you guys didn't see, Brock Purdy tore his UCL, which is going to require Tommy John surgery. It really sucks for the kid, by the way. And now, are the 49ers going to go out there and be aggressive for a new quarterback? Are they going to roll with Trey Lance? Jimmy G's a free agent. Also, Tom Brady retiring. That is another quarterback off the market. So a team like the Raiders or a team like other teams that potentially going to pursue Tom Brady are not going to be able to get him. So will that impact the Jets? It very well could. Jack, what's your thoughts about Tom Brady retiring? I broke it down when I first started off the show. What's your thoughts of that man hanging up the cleats for the second straight year?
I think that for his sake, he should just stick to his guns. And if he's going to say he's retired, then do it. Retire. Don't come out of retirement again to play for the 49ers. Don't do it. Don't pull a Brett Favre. Because as much as people remember Brett Favre's greatness, they also remember, him fizzling out and jumping from team to team. One of those teams being the Jets at the end of his career, as well as the Minnesota Vikings. So I don't know. Tom Brady, no one is ever touching Tom Brady's level of greatness.
Good riddance.
He could have retired, before he won his 7th Super Bowl and still been the greatest ever. So, he should definitely not play in the NFL again. See you later. Tired of seeing his name on the back of a jersey every single year. I'm down to see that jersey not in the league.
Yeah.
And
later.
sayonara.
Goodbye.
See you, Tom.
Let's see it. The roundtable going to keep going throughout the offseason. So we have a lot of fun things planned for the AFC's roundtable. If you guys have not seen the announcement on Twitter or on my community tab, we're actually doing a Madden 23 connected franchise, a fantasy draft that's going to be kicking off this Sunday at 8 p.m. On both Xbox Series X and PS5. We have 2 separate leagues. So if anybody plays Madden 23 and you're on PS5 or you're on Xbox Series, you can join. It's a $10 buy-in. And the winner gets around $300. And let's go. Jack is in the league. I'm in the league. I'm running the PlayStation League. Master at Work is running the Xbox League. Dan and TD are going to be in both leagues. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you guys want to check it out, you're more than welcome to. We're also going to be creating content based off of that. And we have a lot of other things planned. We're going to be live tonight for the roundtable, and we have other content planned for the roundtable as well. It's going to be exciting. This is the first off season for the AFC's roundtable together, actually, because the past 2 seasons we didn't have our own YouTube channel. We just did a rotation. This is the first off season where we have our own YouTube channel. So we're really trying to be more consistent with content. So tune in tonight for more details.
Absolutely.
Dave says, I hate this time of the season. We aren't in the playoffs. We don't have rookies. We don't have new free agents. It's just a lot of nothing. That is true.
It's a lot of speculation. That's all it really is. Yeah,
it is. And that's the issue, man. And like, we got the Senior Bowl right now this week. People want to see mock drafts and all those things, but the reality is we're sitting back and we have to wait to see who our freaking quarterback is. And unfortunately, we have to wait a little bit. All of a sudden, and it could be announced today, it could be announced tomorrow or next week or right after the Super Bowl. Or this could go all the way to March to figure out who our quarterback is. So that's really the situation. So, Jack, what's your overall thoughts right now of the quarterback situation for the New York Jets? Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is what everyone's talking about. But if it's not Aaron Rodgers, is there another guy that you would want if Aaron Rodgers decides to stay with Green Bay or gets traded somewhere else, like a Derek Carr? Or how do you feel about Jimmy Garoppolo? Are you still holding on to the Lamar Jackson pipe dream? Other guys, even like Brian Tannehill's available. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks that could potentially become a Jet. And we know for sure that Robert Saleh said that we are getting a veteran quarterback. So if it's not Aaron Rodgers, who would you want it to be?
Listen, I'll start by saying that, the original question was, what's your assessment of the quarterback situation as a whole? It's dire. I will say that it's dire. We need, we had 4 quarterbacks on this roster this year, and not a single one of them looks like they're a starting caliber player in this league. So, we had the hope of Mike White for a couple weeks there, and then that flame was quickly extinguished. But yeah, the quarterback situation is absolutely dire. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is, I think, pretty much unanimously every Jet fan's number 1 choice. But you got to throw Lamar Jackson in there at number 2, maybe even like 1B, because Lamar Jackson is obviously much younger, super, super talented in a much different way. Former league MVP. So Lamar Jackson, I think, is still right up there for me. Obviously, it would be a very different situation on offense. But Lamar Jackson, just based on his talent alone, is still got to be high up there for me. I think coming in at number 3, it's Derek Carr. I do think Derek Carr could come here and experience some success with the Jets offense. It's obviously, not my first choice. He is, prone to turning the ball over, especially when he's under pressure. And, I'm really hoping we can get this offensive line solidified this offseason, get these guys healthy. Hopefully Mekhi Becton is a player because, that's going to be a factor, whether it's Carr or whether it's Aaron Rodgers, because they obviously lack the mobility that a Lamar Jackson would have. And obviously that brings me to Jimmy Garoppolo as well, who obviously is the fourth option here. Injury concern being the prime reason. Also, without a solidified offensive line, I think Jimmy G absolutely crumbles. Although he wins games. I mean, his track record as a starting quarterback is two things. It's getting hurt, unfortunately, but it's also winning games. So we as Jet fans who have been in quarterback hell for pretty much our entire lifetimes, we we're in zero position to be picky in a situation like this. So we'll really see. We'll see how the cookie crumbles, man. We'll see what it comes down to. But it's Rodgers, Lamar, Carr, Garoppolo for me right now.
I agree, man. We got Dexify, I think I said that right, says, hey, Richie, I think A-Rod is best scenario because he would be able to develop third-year Zach Wilson. And now this is a great talking point, and we talked about this before. We still got Zach Wilson on the roster, and I think, majority of Jets fans are looking at Zach Wilson and looking at him in the face saying, you, sir, are not starting in year number 3, meaning this season. We all know that. I don't think there's one Jets fan that would say, I feel comfortable with Zach Wilson starting. But
No.
there are still some Jets fans that believe that he still possesses something. And I think the only possible way that if you can create a scenario for Zach to fix him and for him to be the starter for the Jets long-term, it's you get Aaron Rodgers, who he looked up to his entire life, to help fix him, to help figure out his mind. Because I really genuinely believe that the biggest issue with Zach Wilson is his ability to process things, his off-the-field schedule, his routine, so much to the quarterback position that we don't understand. Because I really think that Zach Wilson possesses all the physical qualities to be a franchise quarterback, which pretty much made him the second overall pick. And the Jets didn't develop him properly from the coaching perspective. And Zach Wilson also failed himself in terms of not being able to simplify things. I think Zach Wilson overcomplicated a lot in his mind. And I think Aaron Rodgers could be a really good mentor to simplify things in his mind, where to look pre-snap, because that was a big issue with Zach Wilson, Jack, is he goes to the line of scrimmage, pre-snap, he's reading the defense. He doesn't know what's coming. He doesn't. He snaps it, and there's a blitz that he should have been able to pick up and should have called to a hot route like veteran quarterbacks does. And that's what happens when you have a young quarterback that develops properly. So there are some people that believe that you get Aaron Rodgers for 2 years. Aaron Rodgers does whatever he does with the Jets. Maybe we'll make the playoffs. Maybe we don't. But then when Aaron Rodgers decides to retire, we go somewhere else and we move off of him, then we have Zach Wilson ready to go, similar to Jordan Love learning behind Aaron Rodgers. And then Zach Wilson's hypothetically fixed. Right? This is big hypothetical. And then if you want to talk about Derek Carr real quick on the flip side, you get Derek Carr, Zach Wilson's future with the Jets is done. Because Derek Carr is the new franchise quarterback for the next 4 to 5 seasons, if not even longer. You get Aaron Rodgers, he's here for 2 seasons, and then Zach Wilson can develop behind him. You get Derek Carr, Zach Wilson's out the freaking door. So that's definitely something to mention here, Jack. So what's your thoughts? I know that, you don't really have any confidence in Zach Wilson at all, but do you think Aaron Rodgers coming here would benefit Zach's ability to be the future guy for the Jets or even future guy for any other team out there? Or do you think he's just his time in the NFL is done? He'll never be a starter.
It's pretty tough to call. He's still super duper young. So it's really tough to write off his career as a whole. I think, any young quarterback being around Aaron Rodgers, I mean, it better make you better, right? I didn't mean to repeat the word better there twice. But it's got to make you better being around a player of that caliber. So I think, that's not exclusively for Zach Wilson. I think any young quarterback would obviously benefit from being in the room with Aaron Rodgers all the time. But we obviously know of the connection that the two share together, Aaron Rodgers being Zach Wilson's favorite, player growing up. And, the time that they got to spend with each other, was that at a joint practice or something like that? Joint practice before like a preseason game.
Yep.
Last offseason. We obviously know that, Zach would be very hyped. Who knows what it would do for Zach's game? I don't know that I really care because I'm kind of entirely off of the Zach Wilson train at this point.
Yeah.
But who knows? Like I said, he's way too young to completely write off his career.
Look at Geno Smith. We don't have 8 years to wait.
No,
if we're thinking
exactly.
Geno, if we're thinking Zach's on a Geno Smith trajectory, we're not waiting 8 years.
No.
But it is gonna suck if we do let go of Zach, and then 8 years from now we're gonna see him in the Pro Bowl for the New Orleans Saints or some random team, and we're like, oh, there it is. And hopefully by that time we have our own quarterback. So it's like, all right, cool, good for you, Zach. and we're not like still looking for a quarterback, and we're like, oh my gosh. And then throw in Sam Darnold probably starting somewhere, and we got Geno Smith, Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, all the 3 starting quarterbacks in the Pro Bowl, while the Jets are sitting back in 2027 with no quarterback. That is the biggest nightmare, but forget I said that. That's not going to happen. We got a donation from Poppy. Thank you so much, my friend. We appreciate it. A great member of the channel says, Richie, who do we cut this year, or do we restructure enough contract? What's your opinion? So this is a great question, because the Jets have a lot of big time, unfortunate cuts to be had. Luckily, the NFL announced that they are rising the salary cap this season, and it's at an NFL high. I can't remember exactly what the number is, but it helped out every single NFL team with $16 million in total. The Jets are now under the cap, so they have to make some cuts in order to bring in a quarterback, in order to improve this roster. And the guys that are cut candidates, the number 1 guy is Corey Davis. That seems to be the most likely. You free up $10 million. Another guy that seems likely just based off the contract is Carl Lawson, because Carl Lawson, you can save $15 million with just a $333,000 dead cap hit. That is like, Carl Lawson's a phenomenal player, and I want to keep him so freaking bad. But the issue with that contract is, based on the way this Jets team is constructed, it kind of makes sense to move off of Carl Lawson financially speaking. CJ Mosley, we could restructure his deal. He ain't going nowhere, by the way. I want that man to retire a Jet. He already restructured his deal, by the way, before the season this past year. So shout out to CJ Mosley. Some guys to bring up, Jordan Whitehead could get cut. Braxton Berrios could get cut. And I think that's really all the cut candidates. So Jack, when it comes to, Carl Lawson, Corey Davis, Jordan Whitehead, Braxton Berrios, potentially restructuring CJ Mosley, who would you want the Jets to figure out a way to keep, and who are you okay with just getting rid of? Because unfortunately, the way the Jets are sitting right now with their finances, they're going to have to make some tough cuts, where Joe Douglas is saying to himself, I don't want to cut you, but I kind of have to.
Yeah, I mean, someone's going to be a casualty. It's really tough at this point to determine who that's going to be. Who I don't want it to be is Carl Lawson. I kind of want Carl Lawson to stick around. And I know a lot of people aren't going to be hyped about that. I see it in the chat already. A lot of people are down on Carl Lawson.
And I can defend Carl Lawson real freaking quick, because
we knew he wasn't. I mean, his numbers before he came to the Jets, he was never going to be like a double-digit sack guy. His thing is being fast off the edge. He did. He had a career season this year. His thing is being quick and powerful off the edge and freeing things up for a guy like Quinnen Williams, who did have double-digit sacks this year. So Carl Lawson did his job.
Also, Carl Lawson's coming off an offseason of only rehabbing. He did not have a full offseason to train. He was rehabbing an Achilles injury, which is the hardest injury to come back from. This offseason will be him not rehabbing, but training. And do not freaking forget the type of player that we thought we had in training camp last season before we got injured. And Carl Lawson was also playing through injuries throughout this entire season and played all 17 games. And I know people's expectations for Carl Lawson is this guy that's going to be like 14 sacks, but that man is a very good player. And I hate to see people slandering him, because for him to come off an Achilles injury and play all 17 games and put up the production that he did, which is an average to an above average player, give the man respect. That's all I'm going to say.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. And then, it's kind of up in the air for me with Whitehead, with Berrios. I feel like I could fall either way on that. Obviously, I totally agree with you on CJ Mosley. I'd love for him to retire a New York Jet. I'd love to maybe restructure that deal, find a way to make it happen so that we don't have to pay him, the crazy amount that he's due this year. So we'll see how it happens, man. Joe Douglas has a lot, on his plate right now. He's got a lot of big moves to make, and hopefully it pans out in a good light for the Jets.
Yeah, the only positive I can see from moving off of Carl Lawson is you get Jermaine Johnson more reps, you get Michael Clemens more reps, you bring in another edge rusher in this year's draft class to get him more reps. I get all that, but I don't know. I just think that Carl Lawson has another part of his game to tap into. And we also are going into a season, by the way, that we're winning. With a win now mindset, right? We're trying to win this season. We're trying to win the division. I don't know who the quarterback is yet, and the quarterback's going to tell us our real expectations. But if we get Aaron Rodgers and we can figure out a way to keep Carl Lawson, we want that defense to be as good as possible and the most talent on that D-line as possible. And I understand $15 million is expensive, and we got to cut him in order to free up some cap space to make out the roster. But hopefully that's a player that we can keep for the season. They can also actually trade him, which would be the best case scenario because we can get some type of compensation back. But we'll see about all of that. Now, regarding, we talked about the quarterbacks, we talked about cap casualties, but there's other positions that need some work in the offseason, such as the offensive line. And the offensive line is going to be a discussion all throughout the offseason. How the Jets going to go about this? Are we going to re-sign Connor McGovern? Are we going to let him walk? If we let him walk, who's going to be replacing him? Because guess what? Connor McGovern is the best free agent center on the market. So if you let him walk, you can't bring in a new free agent center because you're downgrading. So you got to go into the draft, maybe draft one high, or you just re-sign Connor McGovern with their new offensive line coach. So that's a big question mark, right? The offensive tackle position is Dwayne Brown, who also could be a cap casualty. Is he going to retire? Is he going to be cut? Is he going to stay? Mekhi Becton, is he healthy? Who knows? AVT. He's coming off a torn tricep. Hopefully he's back to 100%, right? There's a lot of unfortunate question marks at the O-line position, but hearing Robert Saleh speak to the media after we hired Nathaniel Hackett, he said that they're going to go all in to rebuild this offensive line. So it's obvious, Jack, we need to build this O-line, but what's your overall thoughts and how this Jets team should approach fixing this O-line this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, I forgot the dude's name, but whoever sent that chat in before, talking about, when we eventually came to the conclusion that, we don't know anything. This is a bad time of year where it's just all hypotheticals. There's nothing set in stone. We don't have any free agents yet. We don't know who we drafted yet. We don't know who our quarterback is going to be yet. So I think, especially dealing with the offensive line, knowing that, it's obviously going to come down to who our quarterback is going to be. If we were to go get a guy like Aaron Rodgers, it's obviously going to cost a first-round pick or two, which means that, we're not going to be able to take a premier offensive lineman. So it's really a waiting game right now. I feel like, every question results in the same answer of, who knows how it's going to shake out. We're still waiting on this. We're waiting on that. We're waiting on that. And then, once these things start to happen, then we're going to get a bigger picture of, what the rest of the team is going to look like. But number one, obviously was OC. We already got that down. Number two now is quarterback. We got to solidify that. And then, who knows what's up next after that. It's tough to talk about the hypotheticals for the offensive line when we've yet to solidify the quarterback. We don't know what kind of assets we're going to have to give up to bring in said quarterback, what kind of contract it's going to be, all that stuff. So who really knows, man? But if we have a first round draft pick, I would love to go out there and grab an offensive lineman, specifically an offensive tackle. I'm not really I haven't really done my offseason research that much in terms of too many prospects or free agents as well. So I definitely got to be on the ball with that. Start getting some semi-realistic scenarios in my head about potential players that could actually be a part of this Jets team next year. But yeah, right now we're waiting on the quarterback, man, and then we could start filling in the blanks after that. But until that quarterback is found, we're in purgatory.
We are, and that's unfortunate, but all these questions will be answered in no time. Guys, if you could do me a favor, please hit that thumbs up button. We got 43 likes with over 100 people watching, so if you guys can do me a solid, hit that thumbs up button if you're enjoying the show. We greatly, greatly appreciate that. Now, enough with the hypothetical talk. Let's talk about something about next season that we kind of know what to expect, and let's talk about our expectations, and that's the defense, because the defense doesn't have that many holes to fill. Oh, linebacker, safety, Richie. We suck there. We don't suck as bad as you think there, okay? Enough. Give my man CJ Mosley, who's a second-team All-Pro, some respect. Hopefully we re-sign Quincy Williams and Quan Alexander, and then we'll figure out the safety position. But, Jack, we don't need to freaking touch the corners. The D-line will probably be another addition or two. But we saw this Jets defense dominate certain games. we also saw this defense take a little bit of a step back from our expectations, because that's the thing about us as a Jets fan base. The Jets defense identity is so like ingrained in us, where we have expectations of being great and putting up zeros to the point where we're giving up some methodical drives. We're like, oh, this defense sucks. It's driving me crazy, because we want them to just pitch shutouts, which is just unrealistic. And that's not a bad thing, because we demand greatness from our defense, because we've went through our, the past decade plus of the only thing we really have is a good defense. The offense has always been the issue. The quarterback has always been an issue. And when the defense finally turned the corner midway through the season and we saw the defense kind of, take the step back, we were getting a little worried. But the reality was the defense was far from the issue last season. Top 4, literally the 4th ranked defense in the entire NFL. But I personally think what the defense needs to get better at for next season is to take a step of getting more consistent of creating turnovers, because that is where the defense took a step back later in the season. When we went on that 4-game winning streak, we were creating turnovers. We were getting interceptions. We were getting strip sacks. We were, just getting the ball. When we beat the Buffalo Bills, we picked off Josh Allen twice, right? And then the defense kind of fell off in that thing. But it is kind of unfortunate, though, because we can't rely on our defense to go out there and force 3 turnovers a game to win. We need our offense to help us out, right? But when you look at this defense, Jack, we saw the defense look terrible in year 1 with Robert Saleh, last in the league. We saw them take a jump to top 5 in year number 2. So talk about year number 3. We got Quinton Williams breaking out. We got Sauce, first team all freaking pro as a rookie. We got DJ Reed playing like a Pro Bowl himself. We got CJ Mosley turning back the clock, playing like a Pro Bowl linebacker. We got Jermaine Johnson and Michael Clemens entering year number 2. Expectations for them are going to be high. What are your reasonable expectations for them defensively as a unit heading into this season? Because other than the offense is more of a question, because we don't know who the quarterback is. We don't know how the O-line's like. Yeah. But the defense, we kind of know what to expect, because the holes are really safety, linebacker, because we kind of have the foundation laid there. So what's your reasonable expectations for this defense next season?
Yeah, I think, obviously, just like every unit for every team, the goal is to constantly be getting better. So I'm expecting these guys to come out firing. Sauce Gardner in year 2, whatever defensive pieces we had in the draft. A lot of other young players, Jermaine Johnson, Bryce Huff. Let's see what kind of elevated role they may or may not get next season. I expect them to be better. How could I not? I think that there's certainly, especially through the last stretch of the season, there's certainly areas, that we need to improve on. And we were a great defense this year, but, we weren't a perfect defense. And obviously we can't expect to be perfect 24/7. Every team makes their mistakes from time to time. But there were games like the Lions game, for example, the Vikings game, for example, where I know, where we put so much blame on our offense, as we should, because our offense was dog shit in both of those games. But there were certain plays here and there. The Justin Jefferson touchdown and the 4th and 1 50-yard touchdown to the tight end in the Lions game. Certain plays like that haunted this defense this year and ultimately were a factor in us losing some games that we maybe should have won. And believe me, I know, I'll say it again. The offense was more to blame in those 2 specific games. But there's definitely, what I'm trying to say here is there's definitely areas that this defense can improve in. And I expect them to do just that in this offseason. Year 3 in the Robert Saleh system. And, I'm hoping that these guys are going to come out even hungrier, even nastier, and ready to go.
I agree, man. Poppy with the $5 super chat. My friend, thank you so much for another donation. We appreciate you. Do you fire Robert Solo over one bad foul if he misses the playoffs by one bad penalty, but we go 9-8? Now, this is interesting because there's a lot of things that needs to happen before we figure this out. There's a lot of what ifs. What's the defense playing like? Is there more people demanding trades? What's the quarterback situation? But if the season is just, or another question, right? Do the Jets start 9-3 and then lose 5 in a row to finish the season and we're 9-8? Or are we, there's a lot of things that needs to go into the context of this question, Poppy, but I understand your question for sure. And This is it for Robert Saleh, right? We all know that as a fan base. After year one, a lot of questions around him. How are you a defensive coordinator turning into a head coach and your defense is bottom of the league? Well, your defense better improve in year two. Well, guess what it did after you gave him real players? Okay, now the defense is fixed. Now, how can Robert Saleh elevate his game as a clock manager? How can he be a head coach? Because we saw Robert Saleh be phenomenal as a clock manager this season. We also saw Robert Saleh be terrible as a clock manager this season. So how can he be more consistent on a week-to-week basis, being able to be a great clock manager, calling the timely timeouts, and being able to execute, late in fourth quarter, and how to rile up his team, how to make sure that they are prepared in December, because that's also going to be a thing, guys. The story of next season, and Robert Saleh already made it the mantra for the season. The theme is what? Finish. He made T-shirts after week 18 and hung it up in every single locker room. It was just a black T-shirt with white font that said finish, right? So that's going to be the season. But the problem with that is we need to start off strong again, Jack. We can't finish strong if we don't start off strong first. So, what's your overall thoughts of Robert Saleh? Because I think Jets fans understand that his seat's getting a little warm. I think we can all agree that we don't want to fire him right now, but this is a really important season for him, because in year number 3, if you don't make the playoffs, or say he is like Poppy's saying, he falls just shy of the playoffs, but still had a positive season, there's a lot of things that needs to get figured out. So what's your overall thoughts of Robert Saleh?
Yeah, I love Robert Saleh. I really want him to succeed. I think, as all Jets fans do. I think he's certainly in the minority in terms of being a defensive-minded head coach in the current NFL, where it's dominated by offensive guys in the majority of successful teams that we currently see in the league. So he's definitely got a lot to prove. I do worry about the future of the offense. I mean, obviously, we'll see what Hackett can do as a coordinator. We'll see who this quarterback ends up being. I do worry about the future of the offense not having, an offensive-minded head coach. If I can be quite frank, I like I said, I'm obviously rooting for Robert Saleh. Do I think we, maybe should have hired an offensive guy? I'm leaning more towards yes at this point than I am no. But Robert Saleh obviously still has one more year to turn this around, make the playoffs. That's the absolute bare minimum of our expectations next year. So, time has not run out yet. But he's certainly, got a lot left to prove. The things he does well, obviously the players love him. He's the definition of a player's coach. His abilities, his leadership abilities, I think, are great. One thing I'd like to see him do a little bit more is, get a little bit angry when somebody messes up. He seems to only show emotion when things go well, but then when things aren't going so well, he kind of freezes up and looks like, Todd Bowles used to look on the sideline. So I need some more emotion from Robert Saleh on both ends of the spectrum, not only for the good things, but he needs to start holding players accountable when they fuck up as well. So I think Robert Saleh definitely has a path to success laid out in front of him, but it's not. I'd be lying if I said I was 100% sold. This is the coach that's going to win us a championship. I think he has that potential. I love him as a leader. I just worry about strictly the offense. Obviously, the turnaround that we saw with the defense in year number 2, couldn't ask for a better job with that. But I do worry about the future of the offense.
Yeah, and that is, I think, the whole story this season is going to be Nathaniel Hackett in a way, because Robert Saleh hired Nathaniel Hackett. So Saleh understood, if the offense is a mess this season, I'm out of here. So which is why he brought in Nathaniel Hackett. And now you mentioned you prefer an offensive-minded head coach, and that is very reasonable, because you look around the NFL, pretty much every single coach in the NFL today, especially in the playoffs, are all offensive-minded coaches, right? That's the new era. And I know you guys are probably not going to understand what I'm saying, or agree with me rather, but Nathaniel Hackett was hired as a Denver Broncos offensive-minded head coach, and it went to shit, right? Fired before the first season. But like Jack said earlier, Nathaniel Hackett got brought in for the Jets as an OC and not a head coach. So the best-case scenario for this Jets team is that Nathaniel Hackett takes over this offense, because it's going to be a stem of Saleh. My point here is, Robert Saleh's success as a head coach is going to be a lot to do with Nathaniel Hackett's success as an offensive coordinator. Because he has head coaching experience, and I think that's going to be really beneficial for Nathaniel Hackett coming from that experience from Denver, even though it was a bad one. I think I'm someone that really believes in, regardless of football or not, just life, just speaking life right here, adversity and bad situations in life helps you evolve as a human being and helps you learn from your mistakes and grow and, learn from your mistakes in a positive light. So I think Nathaniel Hackett, he has a great opportunity here. Like, okay, I was hired as a head coach, by the way, for a reason, right? The Denver Broncos, they had an interview with Hackett, and now they have freaking Sean Payton, right? How about that, by the way? But Nathaniel Hackett has head coaching experience, and I know it went to crap, and I think Robert Saleh's job as the head coach is going to have to do a lot to the success of the offense ran by Nathaniel Hackett, because if we want to be a team that's competing with all these teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Buffalo Bills, overrated chumps, right? So we need to be able to have an offense to go toe-to-toe with them. And it starts with the quarterback and also starts with the offensive mind. But hearing you say, like, I wish we hired an offensive head coach, it kind of reminded me, like, wait, we kind of just did hire an offensive head coach, but he's now our offensive coordinator, and he wasn't a successful offensive head coach, but we do have him on the roster. So let's hope for the best. That's all we could do, right?
It's just we've put ourselves in this corner now where if it's any other quarterback besides Aaron Rodgers, we now have to resell ourselves on Nathaniel Hackett. We have to go watch, any successful pass that Russell Wilson threw this year, even though there weren't many. We have to go, okay, maybe this can happen with, Jimmy Garoppolo or whoever we end up, getting. Rodgers is not the guy. We have kind of backed ourselves into that corner a little bit.
Yeah,
but it could work out. It could work out in our favor if we just get Aaron Rodgers.
That's the scary part. And if we don't get Aaron Rodgers, who is it going to be? And I don't want to think about that. Awesome LA, $2 says, I feel like this is only a W higher if we get A-Rod. Yeah, exactly what Jack was just saying. It's hard to really evaluate the Nathaniel Hackett hire until we find out who the quarterback is. The one thing that we do know is Woody Johnson gave the Jets front office, that being Joe Douglas, the okay to be aggressive and pay whatever premium you need, which is an important thing, right? I'm not a fan of Woody Johnson. I never have been. But I think that we do need to give Woody Johnson some respect in the light of, giving the Jets front office the funds and the okay, because Woody Johnson could be cheap and say, yeah, no, I don't want to pay that price. I don't want to sacrifice their future. So, I'm a fan that respects owners that do that, because I'm a Mets fan that went through the Wilpons, cheap asses, and now I have Steve Cohen, who is a rich guy that is, where the new Steinbrenner ran Mets. The Knicks, don't even get me started with their ownership. And it is a little, it is refreshing to hear Woody Johnson say something that I'm like, thank you. And it's not some nonsensical stuff. And that's something we need to hear, that our owner is giving our Joe Douglas the freedom to go pay a lot of money and a lot of assets to get the quarterback for this Jets team, because Johnson could say the opposite, say, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to give you the assets. I'm going to be a cheap mother effer and not going to do that. So let's hope that whatever the quarterback we bring in, it is the right one, because this is a big swing they're going to take, Jack. And this is kind of that big swing that Woody Johnson's taking, and he probably knows the risk involved, and he's willing to go all in. And we'll see how it goes.
And whether it pays off or not, this is, you absolutely, this is the time. It's done now.
Exactly.
I'm so tired of hearing the word developing,
exactly.
whatever form of that word develop you want to use. Clearly we can't develop. We don't know how to develop. We fail over and over at developing. We fail at it. We don't
quarterbacks.
Do
We're developing some other good players.
Yeah. Quarterback is what I'm referring to. But we fail time and time again at developing.
Which is why if we do go in for Aaron Rodgers and it fails, I'm like, at least we tried, because the window is there. Right?
Yes.
Like I'll be content. Like if it fails miserably, I will be sad. And I'm not saying I'll be happy. Like, yeah, woohoo, at least we tried. But like the reality is,
if we get Aaron Rodgers, we won.
We need to take a swing for the fence right here, Jack. We need to go for all in, because we have sauce on a rookie deal. We got Garrett Wilson. All these young studs are not going to be on this team forever. And now's the time to win with them.
Mm-hmm. Vandalist said Chad was development. And what do we do with Chad? How many Super Bowls did we win with Chad Pennington?
Yeah, I mean, Chad Pennington is like the only quarterback that you could say that we developed. Did we develop Geno Smith into who he is today? Do we have credit for that?
No, not a shot. Geno Smith developed himself.
I know. It's so sad. Christian Hackenberg, Bryce Petty. Anybody say?
Yeah.
Geno,
Sam Darnold, Zach.
I'll
Wilson.
never forget. Jack and I were watching the draft together when we drafted Geno Smith in the second round. I'll never forget that moment. Me and you and my dad were like, "Oh, we got our franchise quarterback, Geno!" Good times.
There's always that hope. There's always that hope in the air when a new Jets rookie quarterback enters the building. James Morgan. How about that? Give me a quarterback room this season of Aaron freaking Rodgers and Zach Wilson and maybe a rookie. But honestly, if we bring in Aaron Rodgers, maybe we don't need to draft a rookie because hopefully Zach Wilson will develop. I don't know. I don't really want to go that deep into that conversation, to be honest with you guys. But the reality is this Jets team needs to go all in. And I think this is the first time I've said that with confidence. And how about that, Jack? I mean, last season we were saying this. This is the first time on this channel in the offseason where we're speaking like winning now mindset from a fan. And I think that's something that we need to start appreciating, where we kind of developed the team. Not we didn't do shit, right? The Jets have developed a young nucleus that I think it's time to give respect to Joe Douglas for the job that he's done of acquiring the assets, of trading away Jamal Adams to get the assets in order to get Garrett Wilson, and trading away Sam Darnold in order to get Breece Hall, right? All these moves that Joe Douglas has made has put the Jets in a situation we're in today to be in a situation to feel comfortable to go all in for a quarterback, because usually we'll be like, we're so far away. Why would we go get Aaron Rodgers? We are not good enough to get Aaron Rodgers. We'd suck with Aaron Rodgers. But now we're thinking of it like, wait, we can win the freaking division with Aaron Rodgers based on what the team is looking like. And that's not me saying that we're perfect around the quarterback. I know there's holes at O-line, at linebacker, at safety, and other positions. But I think that the Jets have never been in the situation that they're in today since I started covering this team. And that's refreshing. Progress, baby. We really are in such a unique situation, man. I mean, look at our New York counterparts, the Giants, right? We're in the complete polar opposite situation that the Giants are. The Giants have found their quarterback. At least we think so. At least
and the way that they found him was very, different. They were patient. They were year 5.
Every NFL, every organization's dream is how they found Daniel Jones. But the pieces around Daniel Jones are what is up for debate. Here we are at the Jets, and it's the completely opposite situation, right? The quarterback is the big question mark, whereas I feel confident in the vast majority of the position groups outside of the QB position. So we're in it usually doesn't happen like that. Usually you find your quarterback and then you start to build around that QB. Here we are with an exceptionally talented roster. And if we do bring a guy like Aaron Rodgers in, instantly puts us in contention to not only make the playoffs, to make a playoff run and, upset a lot of people around the league. Definitely makes us, I don't know about front runners because the Buffalo Bills still run the division as of right now. But, I mean, with Aaron Rodgers, we can easily go out there and win the AFC East next year. And
if we get Aaron Rodgers, I'm putting money on the Jets winning the AFC East because those odds are not going to be – it's going to be plus like something crazy. I'm putting some money on that, Bobby. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
love it.
Aaron Rodgers comes to the Jets, the entire spark of the fan base changes. The entire mindset of our fan base changes. The entire expectations rise. I mean, me and your dad were talking at your gig on Saturday night, and we were just like, I'm like, all right, Roger, let's just put ourselves in the hypothetical that Aaron Rodgers is a Jet, right? And I know it's far-fetched, and I know who knows if he wants to be a Jet. But then I saw in your dad's face just a look on him, like, because I put that reality in his mind of, like, Aaron Rodgers is a Jet. And you could just see it in his face, like, we can go, like, all the way. Like, you could see it in his face that you can really feel that. And who needs that more than Jets fans, especially, the older generation Jets fans, that's hope for a season, not hope for potential, not hope for this fake reality, but hope for like, we have a quarterback that knows how to look at a defense properly and pick apart a defense, right? I mean, that's what this team needs.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's definitely Aaron Rodgers becoming a Jet. He would instantly be the greatest, quarterback to ever wear the Jets uniform.
And don't forget, when we got Brett Favre was doing very well for the Jets, by the way, 8-3, and then he got hurt, and then it all fell apart. Poppy with the $5 again. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate you. Last, the way you fire an owner from a team is not to show up to games if we miss the playoffs. If fan base going to start acting like this, so you can't fire an owner.
He's saying the best way you fire an owner is to not show up to the games. So obviously we can't.
We rebel.
What Pappy is saying. Obviously, you can't fire an owner because the owner rules above all. But what he's basically saying is you can hurt him in the wallet. Yeah. And the unfortunate thing for our owners is that the Jets are not their primary concern. They run the Johnson & Johnson conglomerate. So if the Jets was the primary concern for the Johnson brothers, like it is for, let's say, Jerry Jones, or like it is for, let's say, Jim Irsay of the Indianapolis Colts, maybe that would affect them a little bit more. But our owners are unfortunately out to lunch. They always have been out to lunch. At least we're seeing Wood now put things in the hands of people who understand football and understand how to hopefully build a winning organization like Joe Douglas. So
yeah, and like, comparing, I just love comparing the owners for all my personal favorite teams. And I will say that Woody Johnson is growing on me to my second favorite owner out of my three favorite teams. He surpassed Dolan because Dolan spoke to the media recently. He had a one-on-one interview, and it made me hate him 10 times more because
what happened there?
Because Dolan is just like, bro, he just sits there and he's like, we're not the best in the league. We're not the worst in the league. We have a playoff spot. Like, he's loving mediocrity. My point of Dolan is he's so okay. And then he started talking about the experience of the Garden, and we're packing out the arena. We're trying to make it a family-friendly environment. Those things are all great. But you can just tell in his evil, sadistic brain of James Dolan that all he cares about is me to spend money to go to the games. Like, the point is the Knicks just have to be good enough to sell excitement for us to go to the games. He doesn't have a passion for the Knicks to go all the way and win a championship. Like Steve Cohen has a passion to fix it. And I kind of, not going to lie, and this has been changing recently, feel a passion for Woody. Like, he really wants this Jets team to win. Like, he's been the owner for 20 plus years. Like, you can tell that he's so sick and tired of this. Whereas why he's like, you know what? I'm all in. Go get the quarterback. Like, we need to fix this team. Like, I'll give you the resources. So Woody is growing on me past Dolan, which is not that hard to do, by the way.
Yeah, no, not hard to do.
But Steve Cohen is like, and I know no one cares about Dolan and the Knicks, but I just like to talk about the owners, just because I think the owners have a lot to do with the success of organizations. And I think a lot of people sweep that under the rug because we're looking at the quarterbacks, we're looking at the coaches, we're looking at the front office. Ownership has so much to do with this Jets team. And the good thing about Woody Johnson is, like you said, Jack, he's giving Joe Douglas all the control. He's not an owner that's like down the shoulders thinking like, yes and knowing, right? Joe Douglas asked Woody Johnson on draft night, would you be okay if I went up there and got Jermaine Johnson in the first round? Woody Johnson's like, yeah, I trust you. So it seems like Woody Johnson's not like having a strong opinion. He's allowing the freedom of Joe Douglas to do his job. And that's what a good owner does.
Absolutely. Hopefully we're turning the page here.
Yep. That's why I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan. Boo.
In that empty arena, dude.
Yeah. Come on.
That's tough.
We're not going to get into basketball.
Shout out to the Brooklyn Nets.
Right, yeah, you guys beat us like 10 straight times. Like, congratulations. The Knicks come off a bad loss last night. We're not going to get into it. I like aggressive Woody. He wants to win. And that is what the vibe I'm getting from him. Woody is old. He wants to win. Like, that's all I want. Like, I want an owner that wants to win. That's what I want. I don't want an owner that just is content of profiting off of us as fans. That's the least.
And unfortunately, you mentioning that he has been the owner for over 20 years doesn't really work in his favor, at least for me, because, it's almost like too little too late, dude. Like, what have you been doing for 2 decades? Just allowing this team to suck and suck and suck worse than that. And then you go over to London. Let's not give Woody too much credit. Let's not forget that he abandoned the team and went over and did whatever he did in London for 4 years as the ambassador and let his little brother hire Adam Gase, who is the worst coach I've ever seen in my life. So I don't want to get too riled up here at the end of the stream, but let's not give Woody too much credit just yet.
You're 100% right.
The guy's done pretty much jack shit since he's been the owner of this franchise.
No, you're 100% right. And that was my point about Woody Johnson is I hate Woody Johnson. I've always hated him. And for that exact reason you just brought up. And it's just kind of refreshing to hear some type of positive things about him. But you're 100% right, Jack. He needs to prove himself. And when he abandoned us and gave the rights to Christopher, and Christopher just was a moron, man. He had no idea what he was doing. He was sitting there like with a smile on his face, just yesing everybody. Like, yeah, Adam Gase seems right. Oh, Peyton Manning won. Yeah.
Oh, don't hire Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is not a good head coach. Don't hire Mike McCarthy. Let's go with Adam
that's a good
Gase.
way to finish off the show, right? So me and Jack can go deep into this ownership, but we're not going to go too deep into it because we're going to save you guys us getting riled up. So sorry for that. But Jack, it was always a pleasure to have you on the show. Guys, we're going to be live tonight on the AFC East Roundtable, so represent the Jets, of course. And I love you guys. Let's freaking go Jets. There's a lot of things coming throughout the rest of the season. Off season, rather. More talk about the owners, more talk about everything. And I think that the Jets are in a really good position, and there's going to be a lot of speculation. There's going to be a lot of off-season stuff coming, and I'm excited to break it all down here on the channel. So, Jack, anything you'd like to say before we wrap things up?
As always, thank you for having me on. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Perfect timing because I just got the notification that my Mac will sleep soon unless plugged into a power outlet. So this is coming at a perfect time. And until the next stream, JTS, Jets, always and forever.
Until the next stream, everybody hit that like button on your way out of the show. Really helps out the channel. And I'll see you guys on
and make sure you watch the roundtable tonight.
Yes, sir. AFC's Roundtable tonight. We're going to be talking about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets and talk about Tom Brady retiring and the whole concept of the AFC East. And I am going to tell the whole division that this Jets team is coming and that the Buffalo Bills are chumps, baby. Let's freaking go.
Love it. Love it.
Catch you guys tonight.
Peace.